right, so earlier this year, Living the Line published The Abolition of Man, which is the very first comic book to feature art generated entirely by AI. It ignited a lot of conversation about the links between art and humanity and where robots and AI might fit in there, if it even does. You know, we talked about it kind of at great length on this show. So Living the Line, the publisher itself, has now weighed in on this conversation. So there was a comment left on one of their YouTube videos where a user said they were so excited about the techno future that he imagines just around the corner. He's gleeful about a future where imagining makes it so instantaneously, and a future where creativity is nothing but intent. So that's the comment. So then Living the Line kind of weighed in on that, and their response was, as you see it here, yourself, your intentions, and goals don't exist independent of your learned skills, but in tandem with or even because of them. If we reach the hellish future you're describing, there won't be any human intention because there won't be any human beings. Skills and crafts aren't an inconvenience to be bypassed. They shape the way we think and feel and process the world. There is no relationship between drawing and telling a computer what to draw. There is no relationship between composing and asking a computer to compose something. The labor isn't an unfortunate byproduct of the intent to create. The labor is inexorably tied to the product, and the lifelong acquisition of skill has shaped the intent.
I was actually surprised by that comment. I didn't expect them to kind of fire back. Well, not fire back, but I mean, it's definitely a well thought out response.
Very insightful.
Yeah, very insightful. Yeah, I don't know how you feel about this one.
I agree with this. I think, like, it's the whole thing we've talked about like art is an extension of humanity. It's an expression of the human experience. And so part of that is how you get there, and not to get like too heady with it, but there's a media theorist named Marshall McLuhan, and his kind of claim to fame is this quote, "The medium is the message," which basically means the way that you choose to tell a story has a lot to do with the story you're telling. The way you choose to express something is just as meaningful as the final expression.
Absolutely, yeah.
So just thinking something into existence kind of, it gets rid of part of the intention, because your conduit is part of the intention itself, and I think that's a lot of what the folks at Living the Line are trying to get at in this comment as well.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's actually really interesting to see that like laid out. I've had that thought, I make comics, I've had that thought quite a few times, and like I remember particularly, I felt like I was writing scripts for movies, but putting them in comic book form at one point in time. And then I kind of reached a point, it was like early on, but I kind of hit a point where I was like, I need to stop doing that and start focusing on the medium. Like, you know what I mean? Like the format, and trying to play to the strengths of the format. So this really resonated, like, seeing that comment for 100%. Just jumping back to some of the reactions across the industry about this, I'm in the Cartoonist Kayfabe group, and, there's been a very vocal, don't even want to say minority. Like, there's been a very vocal aspect of that group that hates the AI stuff, they hate the AR. I think it gets a little ugly too fast. Like, and that's coming from me. Like, I mean, and like, let's be clear about that. Like, we were joking earlier. We've been on this show for a year and a half talking about it. We feel like you guys are catching up to us.
Robot slander.
Like, just slandering robots, like, left and right, and any AI all the time. Like, we've been doing this for a good while. Like, we were joking, I was joking earlier. I was like, now everybody's starting to see where we're at on this, because now it's coming for jobs, which is the only way it was going to happen.
Yes, of course.
But this idea of like, you have to be 100% not behind this. Because I had people like saying like, oh, if you use the Lensa app, which I definitely did, to create a profile image, then you're part of the problem. I'm like, I'm not asking Lensa to make a whole comic book for me. Like, you know what I mean? I'm having Lensa take a photo of me, which I would have done myself, and put it in my profile pic. That's a very big difference, you know what I mean? And so there's that aspect of it too, right? There's that aspect of the conversation. The other aspect of the conversation I thought was interesting was that I saw some publishers, particularly Mad Cave, come out and say that they just don't support it at all, which I think is admirable.
Sure, absolutely.
Like, I think, like, but I think it's really interesting, and I think I was telling this to Johnny a couple of days ago. I was like, we're in the sci-fi future.
The future is now.
The future is now. It's so wild to me that like companies now have to issue statements where they're like, we don't support artificial intelligence.
It is weird.
It's weird. Like, we're here now. Like, we are 100% here now.
We don't support the robots.
We don't support the robots. Like, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like supporting Ukraine in a weird way. Like, it was kind of like that thing where it's like, and I'm not saying like one way or another about that conversation.
Okay.
But I'm just saying like, it feels like in terms of companies having to come out and make a statement about
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? Say, this is where we side on this. You know, it's one of those things. So, yeah, really interesting.